Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about how the United States joined World War One. So, the United States was led by a man named Woodrow Wilson, who is our only president with a PhD. And President Wilson saw that Europe was constantly getting in war with itself and aimed to not make the US a part of that. We wanted to stay away from European conflicts. That's what our founders like George Washington had warned the United States to do, not get entangled with the conflicts of Europe. So President Wilson declared that the US should be neutral, not on either side of the war. Don't join the Allies, don't join the Central Powers, and keep ourselves isolationist. Don't get involved too much in their affairs. Don't pick sides. So you keep the U.S. out of war. Be neutral. So that's going to change, obviously, because we joined World War One after Germany starts taking aggressive actions towards the United States. And here's just a little preview for you of some things that will help push us towards joining this war. So first of all, let's look at this graph. This is the entire World War One. This is trade that the U.S. has in terms of imports and exports. If you don't know, imports are just goods that are brought in or imported into the United States, and exports are goods that we sell to other countries. So as the war progresses, we start selling billions of dollars of exports to other countries. As you see here, it goes from about 2.3 billion to over 7 billion by the time the war's over. The imports also go up, but not as dramatically. So, why do you think they were going up? Well, what do other countries need when they're at war? Well, let's get into it. So, the United States is going to start trading a lot with our allies. As you see, Great Britain right here is our primary ally, but other countries as well, like France, will benefit from U.S. trade. So these countries that are at war with Germany and the Central Powers need lots of things. They need guns, weapons, supplies, munitions, food, clothing, all sorts of stuff for war. So the U.S. is going to facilitate a lot of that trade. The U.S. is now an industrial power since the Gilded Age. They're manufacturing, they're making lots of stuff. So because of that, the U.S. exports are going up. U.S. businesses are making billions of dollars off of this trade. So was World War I good for the U.S. economy? You bet it is. Lots of Americans are making lots of money trading with our allies. So one of our first reasons for going the war is what we call trade with allies. That's going to be threatened with our next one. Look at this map. All these red dots represent that ships are sunk during World War One near our allies. Well, how do we get stuff to our allies? We send it by boat. So guess who a lot of these red dots are? That's right, it's us. So the Germans were really upset that the U.S. was primarily selling weapons, supplies, munitions, ammo, food to the United Kingdom, to Great Britain, to France, these countries that they are fighting against. So they thought it made sense that they start a policy of what we call unrestricted submarine warfare. Do not restrict they're not going to restrict who they attack with their U-boats, with their underwater boats, otherwise known as submarines. So as U.S. ships will sail across the Atlantic Ocean and towards Great Britain, towards France, towards the Allies, the Germans will actually aim to take them out, will attack them and destroy their ships. So all those products, those guns, munitions, ammo, weapons that they're trading with these countries will be sunk to the bottom of the ocean and not used against Germany. Germany thought the U.S. might as well be in the war if they're just giving weapons to the Allies. So they sunk them with their policy of unrestricted submarine warfare with their U-boats. So this brings us to a specific incident, which was a certain British ship called the Lusitania the Lusitania became somewhat of a turning point in the U.S. So a British ship called the Lusitania is going to be sent over. It's just a passenger ship from New York, I believe, to Great Britain. And on its way there, it's going to be sunk. And it primarily has Americans on it. There aren't any. I mean, it primarily has British people on it, excuse me, but there's 120 Americans on board. And this ship wasn't armed. It wasn't aggressive. It literally was a passenger ship. Most ships like this, I mean, most ships that were sunk were merchant ships. They didn't have a lot of people on them. This one was a different story. Lots and lots of people. Kind of looks like Titanic, right? So the Germans sink it because they were aware that there were some weapons that were being sent underneath where all the people were staying in the cargo holds and such. But it really caused a lot of backlash against everyone because these were innocent passengers that were just being sent across. And it really fueled for the United States to join this war in some capacity. And that's after and again, this ship is called the Lusitania. So a lot of people will start saying we need to avenge this ship, the Lusitania, which killed 120 innocent Americans, and further called for us to go to war. And propaganda, like you see here, was created and is drawn, painted, produced to encourage Americans to join the war. Another one is something called the Sussex Pledge. So the Sussex Pledge happened as unrest grew by America towards the Germans attacking their ships with these U-boats with unrestricted submarine warfare. So the Germans had for a time pledged to not attack any more of these innocent non-military ships like the Lusitania, ships that were just trading. So they said they would only attack aggressive military ships, but that didn't last long. So the Sussex Pledge is broken, is our next reason why we're going to join. Germany quickly would break this Sussex Pledge, this promise to not to attack these innocent trading ships or these innocent passenger ships. So the United States further had calls for them to join the war. Again, Germany continued taking these aggressive actions towards them. President Wilson declared that Germany was violating an international norm, an international rule for the most part, that the seas should be free and you shouldn't be attacked pretty much no matter what unless you're at war, and the U.S. wasn't at war. And our last one, which is a fun one, is what we call the Zimmermann Telegram. And this is literally the Zimmermann Telegram right here. So it was sent from Germany to Mexico, but it was intercepted in London, in Great Britain. And as you could see right here, the message was coded by these numbers, and each of these numbers represented a different letter. So it would have to be decoded. Well, the British were able to decode the message, and they sent over what it said to the Americans. So here's what it kind of said in just a second. So first of all, you got to realize that Germany believed the U.S. would eventually join the war. So they sent a message to Mexico to kind of promise them something. So they said, Mexico, guess what? We want you to attack the United States. And if you do this, all those lands that the United States took from you during the Mexican-American War and other times in U.S. history, the lands like Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, parts of California, we're going to help you get those back, and we're going to help you fight the United States. So if you join the Central Powers and you fight against the United States, we're going to make you a big, strong, powerful country and take a lot of that land back from the United States. The problem is, it never got to Mexico. It got to Great Britain, got it, and then they sent it to the U.S. So the U.S. is outraged. They're outraged that the Germans were trying to turn an ally of theirs, Mexico, and a neighbor of theirs, Mexico, against them. And after we combine everything that's happened, the unrestricted submarine warfare, the Lusitania blowing up, the need to keep trading with our allies and that being threatened by this unrestricted submarine warfare, and now them trying to get the Mexicans to attack the United States, President Woodrow Wilson had to declare war. And here's what the Zimmerman telegram actually said, just if we're curious. So it says, we intend to begin on the 1st of February unrestricted submarine warfare. We shall endeavor, in spite of this, to keep the United States of America neutral. In the event of this not succeeding, we make Mexico a proposal of alliance on the following basis: make war together, make peace together, generous financial support and understanding on the part that Mexico is to reconquer the lost territory in Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona, as it would say. So, by 1917, the United States will join World War I, and Woodrow Wilson will have Congress declare war on them. So here's a little shortcut to remember. It's a funny little word. It's going to be called Zloots. So if you can remember that, these are the 5 reasons why the United States joins the war with Zloots. Zimmerman telegram, the Lusitania is sunk, unrestricted submarine warfare attacked our ships, we believed in trading with our allies and that was being threatened, and S, the Sussex Pledge is broken. In short, the Germans had taken aggressive actions against us. They sank American ships with U-boats, they threatened the U.S. trade, and they tried to get an ally of the United States, Mexico, to attack us with the Zimmerman telegram. Hope you learned something today. Thanks, guys.